I'm innocent.
Please give your name and position.
My name is Julia Horner, and I'm a maid for the Cosmopolitan Hotel.
You were in the room of the Countess of Morcar in the time period of the theft of the blue carbuncle.
I was called to clean the Countess's room.
Please step forward. Please give your name and position and some details about the interaction you had with the woman in the question.
My name is James Ryder. I am the head attendant at the Cosmopolitan Hotel. I took this lady to the room of the Countess in order that she might do the necessary cleaning. I remained with Miss Horner for quite a while until I was called away on other hotel business.
Is Mr. Ryder's statement accurate?
Yes, it is correct.
What happened next?
On returning to the Countess's room, I found that Miss Horner was not there. In the small case in which the Countess keeps, the blue carbuncle was lying forced open on the dressing table. I, of course, instantly pushed the alarm.
But I never touched the carbuncle, much less took it. For the sake of my family, please believe me.
Catherine Kozak, would you please step forward? Please state your position in the situation.
I am the lady's maid of the Countess of Morcar.
Where were you on the 22nd of December?
I was in the Cosmopolitan Hotel tending to the needs of the Countess.
Where was the carbuncle?
It was on the dressing table in the box it was designed for.
Did you see Miss Horner enter the room?
Yes, I was organizing the clothes for the Countess when Miss Horner came in with her cleaning supplies.
Were you in the room the whole time Miss Horner was?
No, I needed to take care of a few things for the Countess.
When you entered the room, were the contents in the same condition as when you left?
No, the room was as Mr. Ryder described it, and most importantly, the jewel was gone. Miss Horner was the last one in the room before we saw it in such a mess. So she must have left it in the condition when she took the jewel.
That's a lie.
Miss Horner, you will have the opportunity to speak. Thank you, Miss Kozak. You may step down. Miss Horner, isn't it true that you were previously arrested for robbery?
Yes, years ago, but I have not committed any crime since then, and I did not take the Countess's carbuncle.
Isn't it true that you knew the value of the jewel?
Yes, I heard about it just like everyone else. The Countess is the most wealthy person to ever grace our small city, and she often brags about her precious jewels.
Until proven otherwise, you will be held in the county jail.
No!
caught 5 o'clock in the morning. And on Christmas, too?
I'm sorry for the very early hour, but I must speak to Mr. Holmes.
Very well.
My name is Gloria Peterson.
What is so important that called you here at such a time? Oh dear, I just had the most terrible thought. How someone died, and on Christmas too, oh that poor family. I'm not sure my heart would be able to take such troubling news, and on Christmas too.
No one has died. I need to speak to Mr. Holmes about another matter, but it is utmost importance.
Gloria Peterson would like to see you immediately.
I know who you are. The manager of the Hotel Cosmopolitan.
I'm shocked that you would even know me, not to mention my occupation.
Please get to the reason for your visit. It is Christmas Day.
Yes, your housekeeper made that abundantly clear. About an hour ago, I was walking home from a very enjoyable Christmas celebration. In the gaslight, I saw a tall man with a white goose slung over his shoulder. As I reached the corner of Groot Street, a fight broke out between this man and a group of Rush Street boys. One of these boys knocked off the man's hat. This man raised the stick to defend himself from any oncoming attack, but when he swung it, he accidentally broke the shop window behind him.
Oh no, and on Christmas?
Ma'am, why is a broken shop window any concern of mine?
The window is significant. Only the fact that it caused the poor man much distress when he shattered it. I rushed over trying to help the hurting man, of course. This man, in his panic and pain, dropped the Christmas goose and vanished amid the small mazes of streets that lie to the back of Tottenham Court Road. The street boys had also fled, so I was left in the possessions of this battered hat and Christmas goose.
I still am unclear about why you think my services are needed.
I want to return a hat to its owner, but I do not know how to find him.
So you decided to use a gifted investigator, such as myself, to find the owner of a hat? I'm only joking, you understand. For Mrs. Henry Baker?
Yes, the hat is the initials of HB. I assumed Mr. Henry Baker was the man who was attacked and was taking the goose home to his lovely wife as a Christmas treat.
Of course, it won't be easy. There are thousands of men named Mr. Henry Baker. It won't be easy to track down the certain one who might have lost these treasures. Since this goose has already been out in the elements, I suggest you take it home, cook it, and eat it before the goose is no longer good. I'll keep the hat here for more investigation.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes, for your gracious gift of patience in listening to my tale. I will be in touch with you for any more advancements.
Miss Hudson, I trust you understand the whole story now, so you can help me solve it.
I could never do anything of the kind. One moment, please. I'm coming. Hello, Dr. Watson. I should be able to recognize your knock by now. You come so often. I believe you had a very Merry Christmas.
It was splendid, as are all Christmases.
Ah, such a beautiful time of the year. I've tried to encourage Mr. Holmes to take some time off, but he's so fixed on solving these cases. Nothing can stop him from solving these cases. Oh my goodness, it's frigid temperature out there. I haven't even offered you in. Please come in and warm yourself by the fire.
Good day, Watson.
Hello. Miss Hudson says you haven't taken much time off for the celebrations of the holiday season.
I don't have time for such frivolities when there's a city brimming with crimes to solve.
I can see you are busy even now. Perhaps I shouldn't interrupt you.
I'm glad to have a friend with whom I can discuss my results. The matter is a perfect trivial one, but there are points in connection with it which are not entirely devoid of interest and even of instruction.
I suppose as homely as it looks, this thing has a deadly story linked onto it. That will be the clue which will guide us in the solution of some mystery and the punishment of some crime.
No crime, just one of those whimsical little incidents which will happen when you have 4 million human beings all jostling each other within the space of a few square miles. Amid the actions of so dense a swarm of humanity, every possible combination of events may be expected to take place, and many a little problem which may be presented, which may be striking and bizarre without being criminal. We have had experience of such, and I have no doubt that this small matter will fall into the same innocent category.
Well, that is a relief.
I agree. You don't need to be spending all this time fixed on these cases that will spend endlessly in your mind until the case is closed. I think I'll go clean the kitchen.
Good idea. Speaking of Christmas, that's when I became aware of this hat. Do you know Peterson, the manager of the Hotel Cosmopolitan?
I have heard of her, but I don't know as many people as you do.
Do you know where this has been? Peterson stopped by on Christmas, and she was in quite a dither with this hat and a goose. Peterson had witnessed a fight on her way home from a party. In this altercation, the street boys had knocked off the hat. The owner swung a stick at the assailants, but hit a shop window instead. Peterson tried to break up the fight, but the boys and the hat's owner had disappeared into the night. Peterson would very much like to find the owner of this hat.
Did the owner not advertise?
No,
Then how will we find his identity?
only from what we can deduce.
What can you gather from this battered felt?
Here's my lens. You know my methods. What can you gather yourself as to the individuality of the man who has worn this article?
I can see nothing.
On the contrary, Watson, you can see everything. You fail, however, to reason from what you see. You are too timid in drawing your inferences.
Then tell me what it is you can see from this hat.
It is perhaps less suggestive than it might have been, and yet there are a few inferences which are very distinct, and a few others which represent at least a strong balance of probability. That the man was highly intellectual is obvious upon the face of it, and that he was fairly well-to-do within the last 3 years. Although he has now fallen on difficult days, he has foresight, but much less now than formerly, pointing to a moral decline, which indicates some evil influence, probably drink at work upon him. This may account also for the obvious fact that his wife has ceased to love him.
Holmes, how could you possibly know all that?
He has retained some degree of self-respect. He is a man who leads a sedentary life, goes out little, is out of training entirely, is middle-aged, has grizzled hair which he had cut within the last few days, and which he anoints with cream. These are the facts which are to be gathered from his hat.
You're certainly joking, Holmes.
Not in the least.
I must confess, I am unable to follow you. For example, how did you know the man was intellectual?
Elementary, my dear Watson. It is a question of cubic capacity. A man with so large a brain must have something in it.
The decline of his fortunes, then.
This hat is 3 years old. These flat brims curled at the edges came in then. It is a hat of the very best quality. Look at the band of rib silk and the excellent lining. If this man could afford to buy such an expensive hat 3 years ago and has had no hat since, then he has assuredly gone down in the world.
That is clear enough. But what about the foresight and moral regression?
These are never sold on hats. If this man ordered one, It is a sign of a certain amount of foresight, since he went out of his way to take this precaution against the wind. But since we see that he has broken the elastic and has not troubled to replace it, it is obvious that he has less foresight now than formerly, which is a distinct proof of a weakening nature. On the other hand, we see that he has endeavored to conceal some of these stains upon the felt by daubing them with ink, which is a sign that he has not entirely lost his self-respect.
Your reasoning is certainly plausible.
The further point, that he is middle-aged, has grizzled hair which he had cut within the last few days, and which he anoints with cream, are the facts which are to be gathered from a close examination of the lower part of the lining. The magnifying lens discloses a large number of hair ends, clean cut by the scissors of the barber. They all appear to be adhesive. And the hat has an odor of hair cream. This dust, you'll observe, is not the gritty gray dust of the street, but the fluffy brown dust of the house, showing that it has been hung up indoors most of the time. While the marks of moisture upon the inside are proof positive that the wearer perspired very, very freely and therefore could hardly be in the best of train.
But his wife, you said that she had ceased to love him. How do you know all that from a hat?
This hat has not been brushed in weeks.
But he might be a bachelor.
No, he was bringing home the goose as a peace offering to his wife. Remember the card on the bird's leg?
It is very ingenious. But since there has been no harm done, save the loss of a goose, and no crime committed, all this seems to be rather a waste of energy.
The goose, Mr. Holmes, the goose, sir. You began fun this time. I'm sorry, Mr. Holmes. She ran without even giving me the opportunity to greet her at the door.
It's all right, Miss Hudson.
You gave me such a fright. Well, at least it was not Christmas Day.
What of the goose? Has it returned to life and flapped off through the kitchen window?
See here, sir. See what I found its throat.
This is a treasure trove indeed. I suppose you know what you've gotten?
A diamond, sir. A precious stone. It cuts through glass as though it were putty.
This is more than a precious stone. It's the precious stone.
Not the Countess of Morcar's blue carbuncle!
Precisely so. I had to know its size and shape, seeing that I've read about it in the Times every day lately. It's absolutely unique, and its value can only be conjectured. The reward of £1,000 the Countess is offering is certainly not within a 20th of the market price.
£1,000?
I have reason to know that there are sentimental considerations that would cause the Countess to part with nearly half her fortune if she were but to recover the gem. It was lost at the Hotel Cosmopolitan. On December 22nd, Julia Horner, a maid, was accused of having extracted it from the Countess's jewel case. I have some account of the matter here, I believe.
The question for us to solve now is the sequence of events leading from a rifled jewel case to the throat of the goose in Tottenham Court Road at the other. Here is the stone. It came from the goose, and the goose came from Mr. Henry Baker, the gentleman with the bad hat and all the other characteristics that I bored you with. So now we must set ourselves very seriously as to finding this gentleman and ascertaining what part he has played in this mystery. To do this, we must try the simplest means first, and this lies in all the advertisements in the evening papers. If this fails, I shall recourse to other options. Write this down. Found at the corner of Grood Street, a black hat and a goose. Mr. Henry Baker can have the same by applying at 6:30 this evening at 221 B. Baker Street.
But will he see it?
Yes, he is sure to keep an eye on the papers, since to a poor man the loss was a heavy one. Peterson, run down to the advertising agency and have them put this in the papers.
Very well, sir. And what will you do with the stone?
I'll lock it in my safe for the time being.
Just a reminder, I am the one who found the jewel, and there is that reward.
I rarely forget details, but certainly not details with that amount of money. Buy a goose on your way back and leave it here with me, for we must have one to give to the poor man in place of the bird your family is now devouring.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes, for helping with this difficult situation.
1,000 pounds.
Just see how it glints and sparkles? It is the nucleus and a focus of a crime. This stone is not yet 20 years old, and it has every characteristic of a carbuncle except that it is blue and not ruby red. I'll lock it in my safe and alert the Countess we have the jewel.
Are you sure you don't want me to put it in the safe for you? You can trust me, you know.
No.
Do you think Horner to be innocent?
I cannot tell at this point.
And this other one, Henry Baker. Do you think he had anything to do with the matter?
No. It's much more likely that Mr. Henry Baker is innocent, who had no idea that the bird he was carrying was of considerably more value than if it were made of solid gold. This, however, I shall determine by a simple test, if we have an answer to our advertisement.
And we can do nothing until then?
Precisely.
Okay, then I shall come back in the evening, for I should like to see the solution of so tangled a business.
Very good, Watson. I dine at 7 o'clock. There's a bird of a for roasting. Perhaps I ought to ask Miss Hudson to examine its throat.
I will see you in the evening.
What on earth is all the commotion about out there?
Miss Hudson, it's Dr. Watson.
Who is your friend?
I've never met him. We arrived at the same time.
My name is Henry Baker.
Please come in, Watson.
These two are causing all kinds of disturbances outside the door. They will upset the neighbors, and we certainly cannot afford any more complaints from them, especially about Mr. Harris. He is constantly wreaking havoc.
I'll deal with the neighbors. Mr. Henry Baker, I believe. Please take this chair by the fire. It is a cold night. Is this your hat, Mr. Baker?
Yes, sir. That is undoubtedly my hat.
We have retained this for some time now because we expected to see an advertisement from you giving your address. I am at a loss to know why you did not advertise.
Money has not been as plentiful with me as it once was. I had no doubt that the gang of street boys who assaulted me had carried off both my hat and the bird. I did not care to spend more money in a hopeless attempt to recover them.
Naturally. By the way, about the bird. We were compelled to eat it.
To eat it?
Yes, it would have been of no use to anyone had we not done so. But I presume that this other goose on the sideboard, which is about the same weight and perfectly fresh, will suit you equally well.
Certainly. Thank you.
Of course. I still have the feathers, legs, throat, and so on of your own bird, if you wish.
They might be useful to me as relics of my adventure, but beyond that, I could hardly see what use of members of my late acquaintance are going to be to me. No, sir, I think that with your permission,
I will confine my attention to the excellent bird which you gave me.
This is your hat then, and there's your bird. By the way, would it bore you to tell us where you got the other goose from?
I am somewhat of a fowl fancier, and I have seldom seen a better grown goose.
There are a few of us who frequent the Alpha Inn by the museum. This year, our host, Wingate by name, institute a goose club, by which, on consideration of some few pence every week, we were each to receive a bird by Christmas. My pence were duly paid, and the rest is familiar to you. I am much indebted to you. Good day.
So much for Mr. Henry Baker. It's quite certain that he knows nothing about the matter. Are you hungry, Watson?
Not particularly.
Then I suggest we turn our lunch into dinner and follow up with this clue while it's still hot, knowing it might be a wild goose chase, quite literally in this context.
I'm surprised Windigate so quickly gave up information about having sold the geese. He probably thought that if there were a problem with the geese, he didn't want to be held responsible.
We have so homely a thing as a goose at one end of this chain. At the other, we have a lady who will certainly get 7 years in jail unless we can establish her innocence. It is possible that our inquiry may confirm her guilt, but in any case, we have a line of investigation which has been missed by the police and which a singular chance has been placed in our hands. Let us follow it out to the bitter end.
I'm sorry. Good evening. Good evening. We are looking for Mrs. Breckenridge. That is me. I'm pleased to meet you.
You sold out of geese, I see.
If you come back tomorrow morning, there will be 500.
That's no good.
There are some on the wall with the gas fire.
I was recommended to you.
By who?
Mr. Henry Baker.
Ah, yes.
Fine birds they are. Where'd you get them from?
Now then, mister, what are you driving at? Let's have it straight now.
It is straight enough. We should like to know who sold you the geese.
I shan't tell you.
Oh, it is a matter of no importance, but I don't know why you should be so uptight about such a trifle of an issue.
You would be upset if you were as pestered as I am. When I pay good money for a good article, there should be an end of the business. But it's, where are the geese, and what will you take for the geese? One would think they are the only geese in the world to hear the fuss that is made over them.
We have no connection with any other people have been making inquiries.
I'm always ready to back my opinion on a matter of fowls, and I have 5 shilling that I'm willing to bet that that bird that I ate is country fed.
Well, you have lost your 5, because it's town bred.
It's nothing of the kind.
I say it is.
I say it isn't.
Do you think you know more about the fowl than I do? That have handled themselves a child? I tell you, all those birds I sold to the Goose Country Club were town bred.
You will never persuade me to believe that.
Will you bet then?
It's merely taking your money, for I know that I'm right. But I'll have a wager with you just to teach you not to be obstinate.
Well, you're lucky, because I have the book right here. You see, this little book, that is a list from whom I buy. Here on this, page are the country folk, with their numbers after their names are in the big ledger. You see this page in red ink? That is a list of my town suppliers. Look at the third name. Read it out to me.
Mrs. Oakshott, 117 Brixton Road, 249.
Quite so. Now turn that up in the ledger.
Here it is. Mrs. Oakshott, egg and poultry supplier.
Now, when was that last entry?
December 22nd, 24 geese at 7 shillings, sold to Mr. Windigate of the Alpha Inn.
What do you have to say now?
Good day, Mrs. Breckenridge. When you see someone with money falling out of their pockets, it's easy to draw him or her in with a bet. I dare say that if I had put 100 pounds down, she would not have given me such complete information as was drawn from her by the idea that she was going to win a wager. Well, I fancy we are nearing the end of our quest. The question for us to solve now is whether we should follow up with this Mrs. Oakshott tonight or reserve her for tomorrow.
Well, it's clear from what that surly lady said that there are others besides ourselves who are anxious about the matter.
I have had enough of you and your silly geese. If you come pestering me anymore with your silly talk, I will set my dog on you. You bring Miss Oakshott here, and I'll answer her. What does she have to do with it? Did I buy the goose off of you?
No, but one of them was mine. All the same.
Then go ask Miss Oakshott for it.
She's told me to ask you.
You can ask the King of Prussia for all I care. I have had enough of this. Get out of here!
This may save us a visit to Brixton Road. Come with me, and we will see what is to be made of this fellow.
Who are you? What do you want?
You will excuse me, but I cannot help overhearing the questions which you put to the sales associate just now. I think we could be of assistance to you.
Who are you? You can't know anything of this.
My name is Sherlock Holmes, and this is my assistant, Dr. Watson. It's my business to know what other people don't know.
But you can't know anything of this.
You will excuse me, but I know everything of it. You were endeavoring to trace some geese which were sold by Mrs. Oakshott to a sales associate named Breckenridge, who then sold them to Mr. Windigate of the Alpha Inn, and by him to his club, of which Mr. Henry Baker is a member of.
Oh, sir, you are the very man whom I have longed to meet. I can hardly explain to you how interested I am in the matter.
In that case, we better go to a cozy room rather than this windswept marketplace.
Pray tell me before we go any further, who is it that I have the pleasure of assisting?
My name is John Robinson.
No, the real name. It's always awkward doing business with an alias.
Well then, my real name is James Ryder.
Precisely so. Head attendant at the Hotel Cosmopolitan. Come with us, and we shall soon be able to tell you everything which you would like to know. Miss Hudson, we're here and we have a guest.
Interesting, because I was just going to say the same thing to you.
I've come to check on the man whose hat and goose were lost. Naturally, I'm quite concerned about his whereabouts and his safety.
The owner of the hat and goose have been found. We return the hat.
Very good, very good. Just out of curiosity, what have you heard about the reward?
You're merely curious?
Well, of course. I've been under quite a bit of stress since I witnessed the incident on the street. I'm sure the money will help my nerves.
I'm sure. Thank you for the visit. And the concern for the hat's owner. We'll be in touch with any new developments.
Shall I leave you my home address?
No need. We can always find you at the hotel.
Goodbye, Miss Peterson.
Ryder, what are you doing here?
I had to talk to Mr. Holmes about a few things.
Okay, well, I expect to see you back at the hotel in no less than 30 minutes.
You look cold, Mr. Ryder. Please take this chair by the fire. Before we settle this little matter of yours, I'll just put on my slippers. Now then, you want to know what became of those geese?
Yes, sir.
Or rather, I fancy of that goose. It was one bird I imagine you were interested in. A white one with a black bar across its neck.
Oh, sir, can you tell me where it went?
It came here.
Here?
Yes. I don't wonder you should take an interest in it, though. The most remarkable bird it proved to be. It laid an egg after it was dead. The bonniest, brightest little blue egg that has ever been seen. I have it here in my museum. The game's up, Ryder. Watson, give him a hand back into his chair. He doesn't have enough blood left in him to go in for felony with impunity. I have every link in my hands and all the proofs which I could possibly need, so there's little that you need still tell me. Still, that little may as well be cleared up to make the case complete.
Ryder, you have heard of this blue stone of the Countess of Morcar, haven't you?
It was Catherine Cusack who told me of it.
I see, her ladyship's waiting maid. Well, the temptation of sudden wealth, so easily acquired, was too much for you as it has been for better men before you. But you were not very scrupulous in the means you used.
I never would have guessed.
Miss Hudson, I believe I can handle the summary of events.
Ryder, there seems to be a making of a villain in you.
You knew that Horner had been concerned in some such matter before, and that suspicion would rest the more readily on her. What did you do then? You made some small job in the Countess's room. You and your partner Cusack managed that Horner should be the one sent for. Then when she left, you rifled the jewel case, pulled the alarm, and had this unfortunate lady arrested.
Please have mercy. Think of my father. Think of my mother. It would break their hearts. Please don't bring this into court.
Get back in your chair.
You're only sorry because you got caught.
It's one thing to cringe and crawl now, but you thought little of poor Horner in the dock for a crime of which she knew nothing.
How do we know you won't steal again?
I will fly, Mr. Holmes. I will leave the country. Then charge against him will break down.
We'll talk about that later. For now, let us hear a true account after the next act after you took the jewel. How came the stone into the goose, and how came the goose into the open market?
On December 22nd, when Horner was arrested, it seemed to me that it would be best to get away with the jewel at once. I did not know at what moment the police might think to take it into their heads to search me and my room. There was no place about the hotel where I'd be safe. So I went out as if on some commission, and I made for my sister's house. She had lived on Braxton Road and fattened birds for the market. All the way there, every person I saw seemed to be a policeman or a detective. Even though it was a cold night, the sweat was pouring down my face before I made it to Brixton Road.
James! You finally came! You hardly ever visit anymore. I figured you'd visit your sister more often. You don't live that far away. Well, you're here now and we're grateful.
Thank you for letting me come. It's wonderful to celebrate Christmas with family.
Are you feeling all right? You look pale. You're having a hard time getting your words out. Maybe I should take you directly to the hospital.
No! I'm told about the jewel robbery at the hotel.
Please tell me if you get feeling worse.
honest, I'm testing them to see which one's the fattest.
How ironic. Peter and I were just discussing that matter. However, I'm a little bit disappointed in your timing. Christmas is only 3 days and you are just now picking a goose.
I've been busy, Maggie.
Too busy? Too busy? You can't even visit your own sister for your own good? I figured you'd be more interested just in what your sister's involved in. By the way, did you know these geese can fly up to 6,400 meters?
Of course I did not know that. But can we talk about the details of a goose at some other time?
Well, pardon me for wanting to educate you on the very thing that has sustained Peter and I for all these years. I figured you'd be more interested.
It's not that I don't care. Like you said, my time is limited to choose a goose, and I have yet many things to do.
Oh, just as you like. Which one do you want?
The white one with the black bar across its neck, right in the middle of the flock.
But the other one is... We have that one set aside for you. It's a lot of pounds heavier.
I like the one that I was handling, and I'm going to take it now.
Very well. Very well. Take it, kill it, and take it with you. Maybe it'll bring you some measure of happiness.
I did what she said. I told Maudsley. He was a man who was easy to tell a thing like that to. He laughed, and then he choked. We grabbed a knife and opened the goose. My heart turned to water as there was no sign of the stone. I knew that some terrible mistake had occurred. I left the bird, rushed back to my sister's house. There was not a bird to be seen there. Maggie, where are they all?
We took the rest to the dealer?
Which dealer?
Breckenridge of Covent Garden.
Was there another one, the same as the one I chose?
Yes, James, there were 2 white-barred tail ones. How could I tell them apart?
I ran as fast as I could to this woman in Breckenridge, but she had already sold a lot of them, and she would not tell me one word of where they had gone. You heard her yourselves tonight. She has always answered like that. My sister thinks I'm going quite mad. Sometimes I think that myself, and now I am a branded thief, without ever touching the wealth for which I sold my character. Crime always costs a heavy price, doesn't it?
I don't feel sorry for you. You're a thief who deserves to pay for this crime.
Get out.
Thank you.
No more words. Get out.
You again? What is it this time?
I have a matter to discuss with Mr. Holmes.
Gloria Peterson would like to see you again.
I heard your conversation at the door. Bring her in.
Thank you for seeing me. I'm wondering what is the status of the blue carbuncle?
There has been an interesting change of events. I will be speaking with the magistrate, who I'm sure will be returning the jewel to the Countess, who then will be in touch with you regarding the reward.
How lovely! I would be able to be in much more peace knowing that the jewel is in the hands of its rightful owner.
I'm quite confident that the Countess receiving her jewel again should not be of one bit of importance to you, but you do a very good job at pretending it is.
I'm shocked that you would accuse me of being such a hard-hearted after I took my time and my effort to bring you the hat and goose, and this is how I'm treated. Good day, Mr. Holmes. Bye-bye.
As with many of your cases, I could never have predicted the twists and turns, how this would play out. However, I am a little surprised that you didn't turn Ryder into the authorities.
I'm not paid by the police to supply their deficiency. I will speak to the magistrate without giving the name of the actual thief. I will merely say that I have evidence that Horner is innocent. She will then be immediately released to her family. As for Ryder, he's too frightened and scared to do this type of crime again. Send him to jail now and you'd make him a jailbird for life. We faced a most singular and whimsical problem, and its solution was its own reward. Now are you hungry, Watson?
Famished.
What do you say to some roasted goose?
Sounds wonderful, but we might want to check its throat for some rare jewel first. Happy New Year, Sherlock Holmes.
Happy New Year to you, Watson.